boys and girls, welcome back to art. We are going to be listening to the story Monsters Love School. So listen to that link first before we start this. Then we're going to tie our art lesson into a monster art project. I saw this idea actually online with Miss Artastic, and I really liked it and thought it would be a great one to use with you guys and show you how to use some of the elements of art, line and texture and value and color. So we're going to be using that, and also some principles of art with some contrast and emphasis. So today we're going to do it, part of it, and then next week we will continue our lesson. Today we're going to get our monsters drawn and color the background. So there's a few materials that you're going to need. I have a 9x12 white paper that I'm going to use. This is drawing paper. It's not printer paper. Printer paper is a little smaller. You can use the printer paper. That would work. So I'm also going to be using a Sharpie and a pencil, and in my case I'm going to use a black crayon. You can use a different color when you're doing your background. I'm using the black crayon to do my background to really show the emphasis on the monster and also show some contrast between the colors. So get your materials ready so that we can get started. So what you see here are some pages that I created in case you're having a hard time creating your eyes and you needed some ideas. I am attaching these to your Schoology so that you can use it to help you if you don't know what you're going to do. I'm also going to be doing a picture and you can follow along with me and then kind of change it up as you're doing it. So I'm going to attach the eyes. I have some different mouths that you can use, and also some horns and things that you can put on top of the head if you'd like to. So I'm going to start off using a Sharpie. I would recommend that you guys are using a pencil so that way if you make a mistake you can erase it, but know that when you're done using the pencil you are going to go back in and trace it with a Sharpie or a dark color. It doesn't have to be a black Sharpie. You could also use a black marker, a black colored pencil, just something dark so that way you are really bringing out those lines and not leaving them as pencil lines. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is creating the horns, or if I want ears or something on top of my head. I'm going to use I think these horns right here that I'm going to put on top of my head. So that's the first thing I'm going to put. And since it is the top of my head, I want to make sure that I'm starting close to the top of my paper up here so that I have enough room to draw the rest of my monster. And remember, monsters are really silly looking. If you've ever watched some of the monster movies like Monsters Inc. or Monsters University, they all look so different. Some of them have different size horns, some of them don't have but one eye. So you just really get to create your own monster here, being creative and having fun with it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create my horn, and I'm just making really a curved line, and that's where we're learning that elements of our line. We're putting lines together to create shape and creating our art project. So I'm going to just create a horn, and I'm going to close that in. So I have my horn here, but I'm going to go ahead and make one on the other side, trying to make it look as close as possible to the other one. Like I said, if it's not exactly perfect, it doesn't matter. It's a monster. So I'm going to create my horns here. And now I'm going to create some lines inside to add some texture. So I'm just going to create some curved lines inside my monster's horns. Again, you can follow along and create a monster with me, or you can use the ideas to kind of learn how you would do it yourself, or you can do completely different something than what I'm doing. I don't want everyone's monster to look the same as mine, so be creative and come up with your own ideas. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use some eyes. And you can use this as what you're gonna do, or you can do something different. So I wanna I think I'm gonna do some cute eyes, make my monster look friendly. So I'm just gonna make 2 circles. And you can make them, again, different sizes, the same size. I'm gonna add 2 circles inside. And then I'm gonna fill in those eyes, boys and girls, but I wanna leave this where it's white so that it shows the reflection in the eye. Kind of gives it a cute look. So I'm gonna fill those in. And color in my eye. And I wanna make sure I do that neatly. I'm not scribbling. I wanna make sure that I'm also coloring in the same direction so that I'm not getting a messy look or leaving white space when it's supposed to be colored. Okay, so now I have my horns done, I have my eyes done, now I need a mouth. So I'm gonna use this if I want to. If you wanna use your own and come up with your own idea, that's fine too. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna create a mouth, and I'm just gonna make a big curved line right underneath my eyes so that it makes a big smiley face. But I don't wanna leave it like that, boys and girls. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna add 2 little curved lines at the ends, but then I'm also going to add another curved line, and I'm gonna come up and make sure I'm touching those. His mouth's open so that you can make him smiling, or you can make him frowning. This is where you get to really show your expression in your monster. I'm gonna go ahead and add some upside down triangles, and he's also gonna have a tongue. So I'm just gonna do 2 curved lines like this so that I have my monster. So another thing is, when you're doing like an open mouth, is we wanna make the inside of the mouth darker. And we also want to bring emphasis to the tongue and the teeth with different colors. We don't want to just scribble in there all one color. So we want to try to add some different colors in there to really bring out the tongue and the mouth separately. All right, boys and girls, so now I've gone ahead and I've added just some arms and everything. Notice I haven't added the body yet. Now I'm going to do that. I'm going to use lines in order to do that and add onto my monster, so that way he's not just this open shape or figure. So I'm going to use, and you can use, this is where you can use texture and line to really show, like, if your monster's fluffy, if he's sharp, if he's just smooth. So first I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add some kind of zigzag lines, because I'm gonna give my monster a little bit of hair on the top of his head. And so notice I'm just kind of doing a zigzag line. But then I'm gonna take, and he's gonna be, we're gonna do smooth. I'm just making like a shape, and kind of looks like a rounded square, I guess. So I also need some feet. So I'm gonna add some feet in with my monster. I'm just gonna make 2 lines going down so that I have legs. I don't wanna make just stick figures. And then I can add little feet. And then I connect them. And I'm just doing C's. And I create my feet. All right, so you should have drawn your monster by now, and if you haven't traced it with a Sharpie marker or a black marker, go ahead and do that, so that way your pencil lines are not showing. Since I had already done that, I didn't have to trace over mine, but you guys are probably gonna wanna use a pencil to begin with. So now we're gonna create the background, and the background is what is going on around and behind your monster. So that's important, because we don't want to leave our background just white and with nothing going on. We really want to bring out emphasize the monster and the color in him. So we're going to try to do our background with value today. And value is when you have different shades of a color. And so we're going to go from using one color, we're going to go from light to dark. So the way I'm going to start that is I'm going to create a circle going around my monster. I'm not going to do it dark because I don't want to see that line when I'm done. So I'm doing it probably a little darker than you guys might because I need you guys to be able to see it in the video, but you're going to actually do yours really light. So I'm just kind of tracing it around so that I create a full circle around, and you can see that I'm kind of going through my monster right here. So I have to pretend that the circle is going through, like, behind him. So I'm coming around with my circle so that I can come back to this point right here. So you can see I've kind of done a circle all the way around. My monster is standing in front of it. But then I'm going to take about 2 fingers, maybe 3 with you guys. Y'all are little. And I'm going to create another circle kind of following along. So I'm going to make a little mark there because I know, like, right here that's 2 finger spaces. So then I'm going to come around and I'm going to do the same thing, creating my circle. You'll notice that that circle kind of comes off the page here. I'm going to kind of fix that right there, but it comes off the page, and we're going to pretend that it keeps going and come around again in our circle down here and create all the way around. And we're going to do one more, and we're going to leave the corners probably where you can see that the corner has a little bit left, but we have, so I have 1, 2, 3, and then the corners left. And if your monster's smaller, your circles might be, you might have maybe 1 more circle. We don't want to do too many. This is where we're going to add value to our background. And after that, we'll worry about our monster next week and worrying about what we're going to do with that. So don't color the monster today. Don't color it this week. I know it's hard because you're like, oh, I want to get done with it. But I want you to be patient. So we're going to get started with our boys and girls. So this is where I said you can use any color that you want, but you're only going to pick one color. And I said I was going to use black because I really want to add more color to my monster and show emphasis on the monster and keeping the background dark. So I'm going to use black to show my emphasis. You might also want to get out a, I'm going to use a white to kind of add some light to it. And you guys can use any color you want. So with value, you're really using one color, but you're showing different shades of it. So when I start off, I'm going to start off light. Now, I'm going to make sure when I'm coloring that I'm not pressing down very much. And it's hard sometimes because sometimes when we get started, we just want to color and not pay attention to how much pressure we're putting on the crayon. That means how hard we're pressing down. So I'm going to make sure right now, you can even see I kind of have the crayon turned to the side, and I do that sometimes so that I make sure when I'm coloring, I'm not using my full pressure and pushing down onto the paper. So I'm just going to color lightly around in the first circle, really creating a light color, almost like it looks gray right now with my black. So I'm going to do that all the way around my first circle. So I have finished with the crayon, the black crayon, coloring really light. I'm just going to take the white and kind of come back in here and add a little bit on top just to kind of lighten it up some. So I'm going to take my next circle and I'm going to add in some more black, but this time I'm going to press down just a little bit harder just so that I create a little bit darker circle than what I did with this first circle. But I don't want to color where it's like full black right now, boys and girls. I want to make sure I'm keeping my pressure off. And so I'm going to take my black again, and this time you can see I'm just pressing a little bit harder, and so you can see kind of a gradual change within these two colors in here. So I'm going to press down a little bit harder and color around so that I blend those colors in together, boys and girls. We're just doing a value of color here to make our background. Okay, boys and girls, so I finished with the second one. Now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to add in even darker when I'm coming in on my next one, my next circle. Hopefully you can see it a little more now with the value, where you can see the different shades. I'm gonna blend those in a little bit. And I'm gonna go around and do the same thing with my darker color and continue to press down a little bit harder with my crayon. Make sure you're being careful. Miss Schaaf is really bad about breaking crayons, because I tend to do this where I'm coloring harder so that I can add shadows and light, and I tend to break the crayons. So this one is a brand new crayon, that's why it's not broken. So I'm gonna go around and again keep adding the value, and I want to see that in your artwork, boys and girls, in the background. The last step I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna come in here and color a lot darker with those corners at the very top to show even more shadow, or more value, I'm sorry, to show more value in my artwork. And I want to make sure I color it in completely and that my background has that nice range of color. So I'm just using, this is where you press down harder. I don't need a different crayon. I don't need to use marker. I'm just using pressure and pushing down harder when I need darker, and not pressing down as hard when I need lighter. So boys and girls, you're gonna hang on to your artwork and keep it safe, because next week we're gonna talk about texture and color inside our monsters. Don't finish it, and we're gonna talk about shadow and value. So bye boys and girls, have a good week.